big welcome and thanks for everybody for joining. It's great to see so many familiar faces, and hopefully this evening is going to be a really good experience. We are previous episodes we've been to Sydney, we've been to Cornwall, we've been to Kent, and this time we are going to Yorkshire. God's own county, as I'm sure it will be pointed out to us in a bit. And yeah, hopefully we'll learn a lot more about Harrogate and the beautiful distillery which we're going to visit. So we'll be, as we've already been introduced to Chris and Amy, we'll be joining Steve in a bit. And first off, a few housekeeping tips. We'll be doing a Q&A at the end. So if anybody wants to put in some questions, there's the chat, which is down the bottom of your screen. You can just type in your message and we'll pick that up. And at some point, we will hopefully ask Steve and or Andrea the question. And then I've mentioned about muting. Please, if you notice that you're not muted, please mute yourself. And then we are going to be running our usual competition. So for those who've joined us before, you'll know that we always do a competition to see who's actually listening to us. And we will either say a word or a phrase 3 times. It could be me saying it, it could be Steve, it could be Amy. But we'll say something 3 times. It could be something unusual. It certainly won't be something like distilling, because we'll be mentioning distilling and gin and whatever a lot this evening. But as soon as you notice that the word or phrase has been said 3 times, go onto the chat and put in your name and what phrase or word you think has been said 3 times. The first person to notice that correctly will get a bottle of gin, Downton Abbey gin. So keep listening, and I'm sure there'll be lots of funny suggestions throughout the evening. We noticed that we get people writing in the whole evening, which is really funny. Okay, so the running order for this evening, we will go to Steve. He's going to introduce us to the gin, Downton Abbey Rhubarb. We're actually going to taste the gin. The last few times we've done this, we haven't actually got round to tasting the neat gin. So this time round, we're going to taste the neat gin before we go on to making gin teas, before we go on to making cocktails, etc. We're going to taste it. We're going to go through the flavor profiles and what's so special about it. Then we're going to go from there. We're going to go to Amy and her bar in the middle of Leeds. We're going to make a cocktail with her. Then we're going to go back to Steve and Andrea in the distillery. They're going to talk a bit more about the wider distillery, etc., etc. Educate us a bit about what they do. And then by that time, hopefully we'll finish our first cocktail and we can pop back to see Amy. She's going to make a more complicated cocktail this time. And then finally, we're going back to Steve and Andrea, and we're going to do a Q&A. And then we're just going to leave things open at the end, and hopefully we'll be able to ask loads of interesting questions and understand all about Downton Abbey gin and what Steve and Andrea do and what makes their fantastic distillery tick. Okay, so I think we're all in, and yep, we're up to a good number now. So we are going to travel up the road to Harrogate, and we are going to have a chat with Steve. And so it's yep, we've got you. Fantastic. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks so much, Chris. Well, big welcome. thank you so much for joining us. It's been really good to have you explaining about your distillery, Downton Abbey connection, the new gin which you've got, and as I said before, we've missed out on doing this vital part over the last few times we've done this. So we are going to taste with you, go through actually the neat gin. So Steve, let's start pouring.
Let's get the bottle.
Let's start pouring. Get those bottles
hopefully
open.
you've got a bottle of Downton Rhubarb or another Rhubarb gin. If you've got another Rhubarb gin, then pour that down the sink and get ordering a bottle of Downton Abbey. But yeah, I think it's a really important thing to do, actually. We do a lot of shows, Phil, and a lot of people don't taste the gin first and foremost. They always drown it with tonic, and I think it's so important. Have a good smell. You can see the colour. This is actually a clear glass bottle. This is our newest addition to the Downton Abbey family, which is English rhubarb. Rhubarb picked here in Ripley Castle Estate in the beautiful gardens. It's a shame we can't go out there, but the Wi-Fi wouldn't work. So anyway, we're going to try a bit of gin on its own. A healthy measure, I think. It is. It's gin o'clock, isn't it? It's way past gin.
Yeah, it's a good time to start off the evening, right?
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, have a good smell. Always good smell. These glasses in particular are fantastic. They're made by a company called Neat, and you can see great shape and great for nosing, and it's just a lovely smell. So cheers.
A bit better than my one, which I've got here, but much more fancy.
I'll send you one down.
Yeah, and that wasn't a hint.
I get it. So this is 43%. It's based on our Downton Abbey classic gin, which is a classic recipe going back to the 1920s. We wanted to have a recipe that evoked that period of when Downton Abbey was set. And our master distiller, Tom Nichol, who's the best distiller in the world, we call him. He's Gin God, his name. And he came up with a fantastic recipe that involved fresh limes, that's a key botanical, and ginger. And then obviously we've got our rhubarb, which is packed full of rhubarb, as I'm sure you can taste, and extremely smooth.
Rhubarb is such a huge flavour, isn't it? And quite a lot of varietals between the different batches, presumably, of rhubarb. It must have been taking you quite a lot of tasting to get that spot on, right?
Yeah, it's, I mean, big thanks to Andrea here. I mean, he's learned a lot from Tom, our godfather of gin. And yeah, it's just getting that balance, I think. I've always realised, certainly with Tom, less is more. When it comes to gin, a lot of people put too many things in, too many ingredients, too many botanicals. We are very subtle when it comes to our flavours and smooth. We always pride ourselves on the smoothness of our gins.
Great. So are we going to see a perfect serve from you?
We're not going to see a perfect serve. This is just a simple classic serve. We like doing things simply here at Harrogate Tipple. Obviously a big glass, that is fundamental. Nice copper glass, as you can see. We've got our Harrogate Tipple copper glass here with our lovely mascot Donny on here.
He's a handsome chap.
Yes, he is. He's sort of quite he's tipsy. Yeah. A little smirk on his face. So a nice healthy measure. I've got a measure here. I'm not going to even bother with that. So
no, not that time of the day.
So you can see the beautiful pink hue in there. And for garnish, we like to keep it simple. I said it's made with limes. So one of the key garnishes we use for a simple touch is limes. We cut one lime. We have a nice little wedge. And this is really important. You go around the rim of the glass, kind of Mexican style, just to get that lovely lime taste. And tonic-wise, tonight I'm using Schweppes new 1783, and simply because it's a beautiful, clean, crisp tonic with a slight citrus note to it. It's almost like a grapefruity note. So nothing too over the top. You want to be tasting the rhubarb. This is a light tonic. As I say, it's Schweppes new range, and it's definitely worth a try. We'll just pour that in there. Oh, what a
and are you going kind of 1 for 1 with that? Is it something which you would do 1 for 1, or are you doing one with 2, or what?
Well, yeah, 1 with 2. I mean, again, depending on how you feel and what time of day it is, you know, there's no rhyme or reason. You do as you please. And 1 slice of lime. That's all that's needed. Give it a little squeeze even. Obviously, we've already covered the rim there. And not forgetting to stir. A lot of people don't stir. We're going to stir this drink. Because obviously you get the gin falling to the bottom. Give it a good stir. And that's my gin and tonic. Nice and simple, classic, citrusy, fresh. Very nice.
It's funny that you might not think of these immediately, the lime and the rhubarb going together, but I can understand that. The kind of it just brings out the whole zesty, citrusy notes in it, doesn't it? Just to make it uber
massively
uber fresh, isn't it?
Botanical I didn't mention, which is something when I set about making the Downton Abbey rhubarb. In fact, even before the rhubarb, we were looking at recipes from the 1920s, as I said before, and one of the key ingredients I wanted in it, just to evoke that very Englishness, was English rose water. So we have rose water in there as well. And
does that alter the flavour a lot, or is that just a back note to it?
It's a back note. It's kind of similar to how we have a back note in our Harrogate Tipple premium gin. We use lavender, so it's just that little bit of floralness, and it just really works. It's very subtle, but it's there. But it's it works.
And the decision-making process for the rhubarb, is it because you're in Yorkshire that you decided to do rhubarb?
No, not really. You know what? I grew up having rhubarb crumbles as a kid, and I'm a Geordie, if anyone's noticed that. I'm adopted Yorkshireman now, and obviously we've got the rhubarb triangle here in Yorkshire, not far from Harrogate, just down the road, down Wakefield. It's something that grows in abundance here at the castle, and it's just very English, and just going back to grandma's crumbles. It's just got a nice bit of history to it, and I think when we talk about Downton Abbey, we talk history. So it just
absolutely, yeah. And I can imagine you could actually have this with a few puddings, couldn't you? With with an Eton mess or something like that, it would cut through beautifully, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. You know what? Just get some vanilla ice cream, pour it on. It's perfect. It's absolutely lovely.
I'm dying to try that, actually. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, Steve, we are going to come back to you later, and we'll go into much more in depth about your whole story, setting up the distillery, the way you go about making your gins, and a whole load more information from your distiller, Andrea. But we are going to go across to Leeds, and we are going to go and make our first cocktail. So here we go. We've already been briefly introduced to Amy in her bar in Leeds, which... Oh, we're getting a little bit of an echo there. I hope that... Oh, are we all good? Amy, can you hear us all right? Yeah, I didn't know whether Amy's... I don't know whether we can hear you, Amy. We can definitely see you, but we can't hear you. Maybe if we can put... there we go. Hello?
Hello?
Technology works at last. Here we go. We can definitely see you, now we can hear you. That's great. So yeah, I was just doing an intro to you, Amy, just saying that you're standing in the middle of your bar, which I think you're the bar manager or the GM of in Leeds.
Bar manager here, yeah.
Fantastic. Can you just very quickly say what you do and a teeny bit about the bar, because I know Leeds, but I've never actually been to Hedonist.
Yeah. So hello. Most of my work, I've been at the other side of the world. I've been in Australia and New Zealand, but I came back home to Yorkshire, of course. It's really lovely that I get to work with a Yorkshire brand. The owner of the bar actually is from Harrogate. I've got family who live in Harrogate as well, so Yeah, this is great. The bar's been here for 5 years now, so it'll be their fifth birthday this year. And Hedonist has always had, they sort of rotate the theme. So when the guys opened it, they would literally refit the bar, complete new theme. So that's something that's been going on for the past 4 years. Last year, they decided to keep the bar as it is, and then the menu changes quarterly. So at the moment, our menu is based around a character called Olivia, which is a traveller, and the menu, the flavours, the decor of the bar and everything is based around her. So we were currently in the Nordics. We've got something exciting coming up for when we eventually reopen. So your eyes peeled for that.
So you're in the middle of a bit of a refurb at the moment, but you've managed to make the bar look great, and yeah,
definitely.
Fantastic. So, okay, we are going to make a cocktail with you. I'm going to try and replicate what you're doing. And for you, everybody at home, hopefully you've got ingredients and a bottle as well. So, Amy, can you just tell us a little bit about it and then, yeah, take us through how to make it?
Yeah, amazing. So one of the things that we like to shout about here at Hedonist is the UK's first unit of alcohol cocktail menu. So that's the Project One. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but yeah, so we basically have a website called Project One Drinks. There is a calculator on there. John and Dan came up with a formula which you can input all your different liquids that go into a cocktail, and it tells you the percentage. So the unit in this one is actually going to be 0.86 units, so not even 1 unit. So this is the R&R. I think it's quite fitting because it's rest and recuperation, but also rhubarb and rose. I think one of the main things with Project One Drinks is enhancing flavours, so using all your senses, as well as sort of like tricking your senses, so using like your zest, and also like spraying alcohol over the top of your cocktails. It sort of like tricks your mind into thinking you're drinking something a little bit heavier when you're not. But it seems to be the way that drinking's going at the moment is low ABV. So yeah, we all ready to start the master?
Yeah, absolutely. On you go. It's really...
Sorry.
No, on you go.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to do is enhance the flavours in the Downton Abbey Rhubarb gin. I don't really want to mask those, so in this I've talked about the rose water which Steve spoke about. So yeah, I'm going to put 20 ml of the gin in there. First cocktail, just because the weather's been absolutely beautiful at the moment. So everyone wants a spritz. It's something light, really easy. Sit in your garden, enjoy the sun.
So 20 mils, I mean, that's just less than a shot, isn't it? Because I think we're so used to in going to cocktail bars and you order a gin and tonic and pretty much all the measures are doubles, aren't they? And I think we've just got used to the 50 ml measure. So what you're saying is 20 mils is 1 unit, and that's that's all the alcohol which is going into this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a more healthy and more mindful way of drinking, but it's just equally as tasty. So you've got all your flavor in there. So if you, for example, if you wanted to go out, you didn't want to drink as much, you can still enjoy a really good drink, a really good cocktail, just lower ABV. So.
Absolutely, and I think that people do want lower ABVs as a choice, don't they, these days? But they still want that flavour. So you can't really get away with just having something tasteless, can you? You've got to kind of pack that extra punch into the stuff.
Definitely, and I think that's why it works really well with the rhubarb gin. It's got such good flavour in it as well. So it really comes through, even with everything else that goes into the spritz.
Great. Okay.
We have the rose water and thyme syrup. Again, I chose ingredients which are pretty easy to get hold of and what you'd have in your house. So yeah, rose water, pop that in there with some sugar, thyme it to infuse. And even whoever's made it at home, even like the smell of it, it's absolutely beautiful. Very small. So
yeah, it's very pungent, isn't it? That when it comes through, it really extracts the aroma so much, doesn't it?
Definitely. And yeah, again, it's just tricking your senses into it, and also it complements the rose from the gin as well. So we've got 20 mils of that going in there as well.
Fantastic.
So the next ingredient is going to be our rose lemonade tea, which I thought was quite fitting to use Taylor's of Harrogate. But this tea is quite nice. It's not too sweet. I did add a couple of tablespoons of sugar in there just to sweeten it up. But again, like I said, any rose tea, anything floral, anything quite citrusy would work really well here. And we are going to... Sorry.
Is there going to be tannin coming through from that?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
From the tea.
So that will kind of give a bit of dryness at the back to it.
It'll counteract with the sweetness as well.
Great. Right, got you.
So I'm going to put 50 mils of that one in there. The way we're doing it here is building it as well. So before the ice, you don't want it to dilute too much.
It's in this temperature, the ice just disappears in a second, doesn't it? So I got some out just before we came live, and it's already melting away. So hot.
It is. It's beautiful. I absolutely love this weather.
I can't complain.
Amazing. Cool. So we've got all our main ingredients there. Again, depending on what glass you're using, it might not look like much, but the flavours are all pretty strong, so it should go through really nicely. Grab your ice. Hopefully it's not too watery. I'm going to just chop that up.
And would you recommend just using a big wine glass for this kind of thing? Is that it?
Wine glass, anything with stem would be quite nice. Anything summery, really. So whatever you like to drink in the garden, use that glass.
Yeah.
Imagine you're on holiday somewhere you'd be drinking a spritz. I'd say use that glass.
Yeah. I've had a question come through, which is, what if you're on Weight Watchers? What can you substitute the syrup for? Is there something which is lower cal, or is that pretty much it?
Yeah, definitely. So with the tea, it is quite sweet already. So you can get rid of the sugar there and pull that out. It's still balanced really nice. Another alternative to sugar would be honey. Still got that sweetness, but it's a lot better for you as well.
Okay, brilliant.
Perfect. We're going to top this up with some soda, and we'll go 50 ml, but we'll just put that in there. I just want to say, like Steve said, the colours of the gin and everything coming through here they're so beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really lovely. Looks way nicer than what I've just constructed in my glass. But there you go. A professional as opposed to someone trying to make it on a table in their kitchen. I'm sure we've got loads of people out there who've made really good ones like yours.
Definitely. A good thing with this as well is it's to your taste. So if you wanted it a little less, you could add a little water as well. The fun thing about cocktails is you can keep trying. So as you're going along, keep tasting. Yep. If you want to grab a spoon and give that all a mix in there. And let's add a few more cubes of ice. There we go. Perfect. And yeah, so we're going to garnish this with lemon zest. So flavour in the skin of your citrus fruits. So if you want to grab a knife, I have a very tall bar here at Hedonist, so my chopping board is below. Grab your lemon and just cut down the side. You want to get more of the skin and less of the pith as well when you're cutting that.
And just to get as much of the oils into the top to give it that aroma, right?
Definitely. So as soon as you we'll zest up.
Great.
Let's cut that there. This should look a little something like this.
Yeah, My one doesn't look so much like that, but anyway.
It's a bit of an odd shape, but yeah. So yeah, you want the oils to come out of your lemon zest. If you grab both sides and just squeeze it, you should be able to see them go straight up the top. Yeah, we all good?
Great.
And for that extra flavour, we could do exactly what Steve did as well and just bring the glass of that. Here you go. And we're just going to pull the thyme from the rose water and thyme syrup as well. Pop that into the garnish. Again, it gives that extra like aroma, which you want from this. And then there we have the our spritz.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. Let's cheers to that, and let's do a quick flick through of people who have actually made it and see what efforts there are out there. Oh wow, look at that! Crikey, that's amazing. Properly professional. Anybody else? Oh, there we go. They do. Geordie Din. There we go. Yep. Very professional. Lots of good efforts out there.
I have actually just realised someone says, have I missed the lemon juice? I have indeed missed the lemon juice. I am very sorry. But that's fine. The fun thing with building cocktails, you can add to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like on the Great British Menu when they go into the judges bit and they go, oh, I just forgot the whatever it was, the nuts on the top, and they lose a few points for that. But yeah, you're making cocktails. Add it in.
It's fine. 20 ml. Get your spoon back out. It'll still taste just as great. There we go.
There we go. Fantastic. Amy, that looks fantastic. There are lots of people making amazing replicas of that out there. And we will be back with you fairly shortly after we go and say hi to Steve again and Andrea. But thanks a lot for that. We'll be back soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy.
No problem. So we travel back to Harrogate and we're going to have a bit more of an in-depth chat with Steve and with Andrea, who we've not met before. So the gentleman on the left is Andrea, who's the distiller. And we've obviously met Steve before. So yeah, on you go, guys. Explain a bit about where you are and what's behind you. And yeah.
Yeah, so these are the stills that we're using. Obviously, these are based in Ripley Castle Estate. Is two identical stills that are actually called Zach and Cassie. And that is after his siblings. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
They've both got characteristics of their own, very like the kids.
Yeah.
Even though they're exactly the same, they perform very differently.
They do.
Yeah, one's temperamental.
You guys are funny, so the temperamental one.
But yeah, we're very pleased to have these, aren't they? We had them bespoke made under Tom, obviously, and the guy called Jack Mayo who helped us out. And the big important thing, certainly for Tom, and what Andrea learned from Tom, is copper. It's all about the copper. We pride ourselves on having the best copper. A lot of gin is stainless steel, and that's when you get the harshness there. Ours are 100% copper, so the better the copper, the smoother the gin is. And yeah, fortunately we've got this man who makes us wonderful gins. And
that's right.
Yeah, and the rhubarb gin you just tasted. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see that as a pot still, and that's a rectifier, which is the middle column, and then a bigger one, which is the condenser. It's a very straightforward process, really. I guess the most important thing are the botanicals, which some of them, not all of them, are actually coming from the botanical garden here in Ripley Castle Estate. We literally go there and pick them up, obviously, when the season is of those botanicals is there. So we have juniper berries, obviously, coriander, which are the main ingredients. We do use some angelica roots. I don't know if you've ever seen it. This is Angelica.
Seen that quite a few times, yeah.
Then orange peel, and obviously there is some rose water, lime, and ginger, which are the key ingredients of the Downton Abbey gin in general. The rectifier is something that is very important for us as well. The rectifier, it works as a reflux of the steam, so the alcohol that goes through the distillation does a reflux in the rectifier, and it means that condense again, falls again in the pot, and it touches the copper multiple times, which is actually very good to clear and make the gin even smoother and less harsh, which is a very good thing for us, for our gin, is what we want really. Even though it's 43% ABV, you can actually drink it very easily, which is what we actually are for.
And we certainly recommend.
Yeah.
So you start out with your normal Downton Abbey gin, which is a London dry style, and then you add in rhubarb. I mean, rhubarb to me is quite a it falls to pieces quite a lot. It's not like Angelica root or berry or whatever. How do you get the flavour of the rhubarb into it?
You can't leave it in. You can't distill it just simply because it wouldn't take enough flavour out of it. Mostly is water. And
I think everybody knows making, even when you're making crumbles or anything with rhubarb, it's bitter. It's quite bitter. So
yes,
it's certain at the right time, and that is massively key, isn't it?
The most important thing is when to pick it up, really, and then is just a matter of infusion, and that's what we do. It does just give the aroma, which is what we are looking for. And
we have some clever baskets in there as well, don't we, Andrea, where you can actually put rhubarb in, so it's actually going through a basket. But we don't want to get technical here, but
So I'm sure there are lots of trade secrets in making sure that you create the perfect gin every time, but it's just interesting to kind of to hear about the different ways of actually infusing flavour and aroma into gin, because you've got such a vibrant looking product, and it's all natural, right? It's all natural flavors, all natural colors in there. So it's just interesting to see different approaches.
Let's say that we have tried a lot of recipes until we found the right one.
It was very difficult actually. Making the first gin, the actual Downton Abbey gin, the classic one you've just been talking about, it was quite a simple process, but getting that right taste of rhubarb was tough. It took a long time,
and especially the quantities. We wanted to make something unique, not the usual rhubarb gin that you can find. Absolutely. That's where we make the difference, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of, Bill, I'm sure you've tried them yourself, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers have tried a lot of rhubarb gins. They tend to be very sweet. Sugar added, they've got syrup added. There's no sugar, there's no syrup added to our gins, none of our gins actually. And that's
so you're definitely not going down the gin liqueur route. You're going for this is a proper grown-up gin.
3% grown-up adult gin.
Yes, adult gin. So rewinding a bit, Steve, you set up Harrogate Tipple a few years ago, didn't you? And then obviously, so that's the main distillery. Can you explain a bit about that, and then the connection with Downton Abbey and how that came about?
Yes, certainly. So as you said, we set up a couple of years ago. It's now 4 years old. Can you believe? Harrogate Tipple. It was myself and my wife Sally, who's watching this from home, hopefully. Hello, Sally. And we both worked in the TV industry in London for many years. Sally worked at the BBC. I worked for many different channels. I toured the world making films. In particular, I made one for Bacardi. So I spent a lot of time with Bacardi. In fact, a year traveling the world, visiting their distilleries, meeting all the grandmaster distillers. Fell in love with the whole process and just thought this is something we really want to do and need to do. We'd moved to Harrogate to get out of London, to bring our kids up, and it was important for us to sort of move direct in what we were doing. To cut a long story short, I sat in a bar in Moscow and I got served Harrogate spring water, and that was the light bulb moment for me. It was, you know, moving to this magnificent town that is Harrogate, North Yorkshire, thinking, well, this could be a business. Sally was a big lover of gin. She grew up in Brazil. She was surrounded by gin and tonics every day with her parents. I drank the occasional gin and tonic. So yeah, we started the company, and because of our TV background and film background, I sat there last year, and I was getting a bit not annoyed, but just a bit bored of all these new gins every day, new gin every day, new gin every day, and I wanted to create something that had a bit of relevance and something with a fan base, and certainly something that would resonate around the world. And Downton Abbey came to me in the night, and I didn't think for 1 minute that we could get it. Certainly the license, and where we are here in Ripley, in this beautiful castle estate, is where actually Downton Abbey is set. So Ripon's mentioned in every episode, which is 5 minutes down the road from here, actually. So it had a lot of relevance to it, and when we met the makers of the show, they just really liked where we were situated, our story, our USPs. We've got Tom, one of the best master distillers in the world. We've got Andrea, who's learned so much from Tom. We use Harrogate spring water, and we're the only company in the world to do so. So all of our gins are diluted, final stage, with Harrogate spring water. So all those ingredients led to us getting the license.
So Harrogate really does seem to be a kind of nucleus of really good food and drink, doesn't it? I mean, it's a small town, but you've got so many connotations with chocolate, tea, water. So now you're just adding, well, I suppose there's some breweries there as well, but now you're adding a world-class distillery to the mix.
Yeah, it just felt that there was something missing. As I say, you've got brewery, you've got the water, which is it's sold around the world. And Taylors of Harrogate, I mean, you can't get better than that. They own Yorkshire tea, of course, and fantastic coffees. So we know Harrogate's on the map, and we just wanted to introduce something that we could, you know, really put out there and have the quality that those companies have always had, and great family companies, and we just wanted to be part of that. And after 4 years, I think we're getting there now. Yeah.
Yes, it's a great story, and I love the fact that you've got that connection with the water there as well. You've got young Donny overlooking your shoulder in the back. So wherever we see him, he's there. So, no, fantastic. Are there going to be any other Downton Abbey flavours, gins, rums coming out? Without wanting to shed any, you know, secrets or anything like that, but there are definitely some people asking.
Yeah, I mean, we're always working on things, aren't we?
Yeah, I can say that he probably wake up tomorrow with a new idea, and we will probably try and realize it. And that's what we love is we do try. I mean, when he said about Downton Abbey, I thought he was crazy. I was like, yeah, okay. And then after a week he came back, he was like, I'm going to meet them. And I was like, great, fine.
That's brilliant.
I think that's one of the good things we can do here. We're not a big company, you know. No, exactly. We're not Diageo, we're not Pernod Ricard. We can make decisions, we can do things quite quickly. And from the idea of Downton Abbey to actual bottle, it was within 4 months.
Yeah.
It was, you know, that was very impressive. And I think that's what got us the license in the end, you know. It was that passion and just being able to do things, get on with it, you know. And going back to your question, yes, we're constantly looking at new varieties, should we say. We really like the idea of doing a citrusy gin, don't we? Yeah. There is citrus gins out there, but not really hitting it with, you know, like we've got the lime, we're Andrea's from Italy, and you've got bergamot there, which is beautiful fruit. We'd love to do something like that, wouldn't we? So yeah, just watch your space. We're constantly working on new ideas here.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, it's coming up to time for us to hop back to Amy, going to go back, do a bit more cocktail making, and then we'll be back to you guys for a whole load more questions and answers, and the result of the competition. So thanks, guys. It was really, really interesting. And hopefully we can segue back to Amy in Leeds, if she's there. Fantastic. We got it. Technology, it works. Fantastic. Can we hear, Amy, is your audio working okay? Oh, yeah, I can't hear you. Can we just press the magic button or whatever it is to get us up and running again? A bit of an echo there. Oh, hello. Testing. Calling Leeds.
Back?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, I knew you'd do it. Fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, cool. So we're going to go for something full strength this time. So yeah, a big, an adult drink.
An adult drink. The first one was an adult drink, and this is even more of an adult drink.
Yeah. This one, I actually really liked the story behind Johnny the Otter as well, who I've got on my back bar. He's really cute. I like him. So I've called this an Otley Great Gimlet because I'm a big fan of puns. So yeah, we're going to use 40 ml of the gin. Just to explain a little bit about the gimlet as well. It's pretty big in the 1800s with the British Navy. It's typically just gin and lime cordial. So this is a bit of a twist on it. There is a bit of controversy between whether it should be shaken or stirred, but we're going to shake this one as well. So yeah. So I'm going to put 40 ml. If you don't have cocktail shakers, absolutely fine. So anything that you can pop a lid on, pop some ice in, and shake will work just as well. Jars are brilliant. Like being at home and lockdown, so many jars. They're amazing to use.
Yeah. We've over the last few weeks, we've seen some really innovative, shall we say, shakers, and it's really funny because I think hopefully we'll do it on this clip. If once people are shaking, we can go and see what people are actually using, because there are sometimes some quite amusing jars and receptacles being shaken.
Sounds good. Here we go. So we're putting 40 ml of that in.
Okay.
And I won't pick the citrus this time, so we'll pop the lime juice in. So you want 20 ml of the lime juice.
And the big difference between lemon and lime juice as a cocktail maker, what would you say? You know, what's the argument there? What would you use lemon juice in? What would you use lime juice in? What's the kind of the subtlety? Because in a way they look fairly similar and they're both citrus. What's the theory behind that?
Definitely. I think it just depends on, especially with a cocktail, what other ingredients you're using. For example, lime in this case really works well with like the ginger that we're going to put in, as well as on side of
okay.
So yeah.
So ginger and lime is a nice flavour combination. And yeah, okay.
And I think as well, going back to how you create your gin, it depends on the botanicals that you use in there too. So picking the flavours out from this, I've gone for the bit of sweet lime and the ginger root, which feature in the gin as well. So that's the reason for the choice of lime in this. Pop that in there too. Again, I went for flavours which are really easy to find at home too. So one that's healthier, again, is the honey. I've got honey, ginger and rhubarb. So I did 100 ml of honey combined with 100 grams of fresh rhubarb, which I have absolutely loads of. It's so beautiful. Got a pot of rhubarb with your ginger root, and it just seems to work really well. So we're going to go for 20 ml of that as well. Perfect. And yeah, so I actually infused my raspberries in the gin overnight. maybe a little bit selfishly, I quite like a boozy fruit. So after they've been in the gin overnight, they're really delicious. I don't know if anyone's tried that at home, but they're really, really good. It's so nice as well if you pop them in the freezer too afterwards. You really get that rhubarb flavour coming through. But we're going to pop this into the mixer as well. So when we shake, the dilution and the ice actually releases the tannin in the raspberries, which is the dry sensation you get when you're drinking like quite a heavy red wine. It just counteracts against the sweetness, especially using the syrup here.
The more tannin you get, if you get something which is really tanniny, it can completely dry your palate out, can't it? I mean, I can remember years ago I had a Perrett, which was obviously just like massively dry, full of tannin, pear juice basically, and I couldn't believe it. I took a sip, my palate just went. It was as if I had a mouthful of sand. It was just so extreme. So it is. I suppose you're playing about with the sensations as well as flavors there, aren't you? You're kind of. It's not so much about the flavor. It's about what the tannin actually does to your palate.
Definitely. I think sometimes as well when you're using syrup, you sort of get feeling in your mouth too from the sweetness. So if you add a bit of that dryness in there, it makes it a lot smoother and easier to drink. So yeah, you got the boozy raspberries. Just one of those in there. You can save the rest for later.
So if you're putting them with booze, can you keep them a little bit longer than usual?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, especially if they're in the fridge. I should preserve them as well.
Or you can turn them into jam afterwards. Boozy jam.
Boozy jam, that sounds really good. Oh, you can have vanilla ice cream we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Raspberries on there. But yeah. So, we are going in. I'm going to pop some ice to whatever you use as your shaker. I'm actually using a Nicola as the glass here, but again, any glass you fancy will be. Okay. So yeah, we're going to give it a good shake for about 20 seconds as well. So get that down.
See them shaking. Woo!
Hey, that's some good cocktail shakers there.
Loads of pros.
Amazing. Cool. You are going to want to fine strain this. Sorry, I'll wait for everyone to stop.
There we go.
I'm loving these shakers.
I know I told you it was going to be impressive, Amy. Like there was some.
I'm loving the
Then we've got thermos. Yeah, we've got thermos, which actually it's a really good idea. Yeah.
I really good. So you're going to want to fine strain this just to get rid of the shards of ice, also with the raspberry that too. A really good substitute for a fine strainer is like your household sieve. It might look a bit silly, but it works just as well.
Yeah.
Pop that in there. I absolutely love the colour of this one.
Amy, what did you call that glass which you're straining it into? You said it and I didn't recognise it.
Nora.
Okay. That's a new one on me.
A cube. Probably something similar.
Okay.
So everyone should have that beautiful colour.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so we're going to do the same as we did with the lemon and get the zest off the lime. You just want him to cut down the side. Would you all turn back this closer? We are good? Amazing.
Yeah.
What we're going to do with this one is just zest the oils over the top and discard it. Basically, if you do pop the zest in there, the flavours from it can actually change it quite a bit. So we just want the oils from this just to get that aroma on the nose. So squeeze that over the top.
So if you're saying if you leave it in there, is it just going to turn it a bit too bitter? Is the pith is just going to the alcohol is going to extract the flavors out of the pith rather than the oils, right? Okay, got you.
And now for the fun part. You've got your fresh rhubarb and a peeler. You can just want to slice all the way down it, and you should get a really nice strip of fresh rhubarb.
The only rhubarb which I had was frozen rhubarb. It's yeah, it doesn't really have quite the same effect, I must admit, Amy. Not quite the same effect.
With the frozen boozy raspberries, so we could be coming up with something here.
Yeah, well, it's fine if you're wanting to have some kind of boozy raspberry rhubarb compote or something, but for making a drink look good, I think I'll just keep my one slightly below because it's not looking that great. Not one of my finest efforts.
So yeah, we should have a strip of rhubarb like this. One of the things you could possibly do if you wanted to get really fancy is wrap it around the glass before you put your cocktail in there. But I'm just going to curl mine and pop it over the side. Ooh. If you've got any mini pegs as well, that would work. But yeah, there we go. And we have the utterly great gimlet inspired by Donny.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Delicious. Oh my goodness. Well, that's the Super Mario Brothers. They're absolutely fantastic.
Look at the colour of that one.
Very good effort. Very good effort. That's great.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
I'm loving the glasses.
I know. This is why I love flicking around this, because you see so many good efforts from people and so many good bits of glassware as well. It's great.
Perfect.
We need to do, it's a shame we can't taste these efforts, because then we could really do kind of marks out of 10. It's great. Fantastic. Wow. There we go. A proper martini glass there. Oh,
wow.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Ah, that's a stick of rhubarb. That's a Jeff boycott there. That's great. Fantastic. Okay, Amy, thank you so much for those two cocktails. They're fantastic. We will love you and leave you for a bit, but please stay on, because, as I said, once the Q&A comes to an end, people like to stay on and chat and ask you about your bar, what you've done, what your opinion is about various different gins, etc., etc. So please stay on, and we'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, lost film.
Sorry, got muted. So anyway, we are moving back to Steve and Andrea in the distillery, and we're going to have a Q&A, and we're also going to reveal at the end who's the winner of the competition. And they might have won yet, they might not have won yet, but yeah, we'll keep that one up our sleeves just to make sure people are still attending, listening to us. So guys, did you approve of those cocktails?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're a bit upset that we haven't even got one.
Craig, jump into the car.
5 minutes for me, isn't it?
I was thinking to drive over there now, but
Yeah.
I'll go out of the video. So
Yeah,
No,
look
it's
very
great.
nice. I'm loving the ingredients, just mirroring what the botanicals, which is brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, it's that picking the botanicals out. Is the point which she made, is picking those flavors out and accentuating them which I think is absolutely essential when you're talking about gin, is to kind of actually understand the palate, and then you kind of go, okay, well, I actually really like whatever it is, cardamom, and I will then accentuate that flavor. And I think that's a real good lesson in how to build good gin cocktails there. But yeah.
Keeping it really simple. Shouldn't be fussy, and that's what we like. We have good cocktails.
Yeah, fantastic. So I've got a few questions lined up, and I'm going to see if we can highlight in the people who've actually asked these questions. So if we can go to Gin the No, and if they can raise their hand, it's at the bottom of your screen. I think you can say, I want to participate. Yes, it worked. Yes, it worked. Fantastic. So, well, the next stage is to see if we can unmute. Fantastic. There we go. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Loving the gimlet is amazing. Well done, Amy.
Yeah, it's a classic, but I think that's a really, really good interpretation of it. Yeah. So I'm glad you've enjoyed the cocktails, and you've got a question. I don't want to read it out. You want to?
You're going to ask me to try and remember it now, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. How many gins have you had this evening?
No.
I know. Okay, right. Next.
Okay. Steve, Andrea, I was really interested to know how you are defining your place in the market with the Downton Abbey gin, and how you are standing out against other brands where comparisons might be made, such as Highclere Castle gin or the up-and-coming people at Downton Distillery.
Great question. Quality? We certainly rise above the others. Going to be honest. I'm going to beat around the bush there. No, I think you mentioned Downton Distillery. I think that's literally just it's just a name. It's literally just a name. Nothing to do with the show. And obviously, Highclere. I think people get confused when you talk about Downton Abbey. Obviously, that's the exterior of where it's actually filmed, but it's not set down in Oxfordshire where Highclere Castle is at all. But yes, they've done a gin, and yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's a good gin.
I do think we will be different on the market because our product is good, and that is what, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the label. If you don't like it, you won't buy it again. So
yeah, I think it's important. Exactly, echo what Andrea said, but equally, we make the gin where we say we make the gin, and that's important.
Are you suggesting, Steve, that people don't make gins where they say they make gins? Is that?
For 1 minute, no.
You wouldn't be pointing any fingers, would you?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's another story, unfortunately. Yeah, I think, look, it's about quality, and it's a tough market out there. Gin is saturated market. But the only way to get through it is actually just produce quality drinks, and we do that. We've got the ingredients. We've got Tom Nicol behind us, who's just fantastic. He's spent 42 years at Diageo. He made Tanqueray 10, for goodness sake. It's one of the biggest selling gins in the world. And under the tutelage of Tom, Andrea's learned so much. I've learned a hell of a lot. And if you can make very good quality drinks, then you should sell quality drinks above and beyond any other company. And it's difficult. The marketing's difficult, but hopefully, Downton Abbey as a name, it's out there. There's 300 million viewers of the show. The film was a massive success. There's probably going to be another film. So I think time will tell. We're going through a tough time, as we all know here. But I think what we've done, certainly what we've done with Rhubarb, we've done something quite exciting and something different to the market, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got another question. See if we can do this again. I was very impressed with that first time round. I've got a question from what Kate's doing. So if you can go to the bottom of your screen and wave to participate, hopefully we can see you. And this pressure is not on me; it's actually on Charlie, who's directing everything behind the scenes to see if he can see what Kate's doing. Da, 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 da. Is it going to work? Oh, I'm not sure Kate is here, so we really don't know what Kate's doing, do we? Okay. Okay, Kate. So she had 2 questions. So I'll flick on to. Is Gin of London here? Gin of London. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Questions.
What's that?
I'm saying you must have some questions.
Oh yeah, I've got loads of questions. So obviously we've touched on. I've already asked the next question, which was, are there any plans to extend the range further? Obviously, you're going down the citrus route with that. And then the question after that, how well is this gin sold? I mean, we've just launched, right? So, but you've already got the classic dry out, and I think that's been doing really well, hasn't it? I mean, it's picked up well in some export markets, and it seems to be getting good reputation.
Yeah, it certainly is. As you mentioned, the export markets, it started off amazingly well. Obviously, we're going through a difficult time, and that certainly pulled the brakes a little bit on it. But we exported to America for the first time as a company, which in itself is an extreme hard thing to do.
Yeah. I don't remember those moments.
No,
I do actually. But,
we had to change the bottle size. You have to
pallets and pallets.
Yeah, but we're doing it, and we've gone through all the pain of doing it, and we're doing it successfully. Obviously, at the minute, it's a bit slow until things get back to normal. But we also successfully exported to Australia, which was just fantastic. We've always wanted to get over to Australia. And I think this is going back to the name Downton Abbey. It resonates around the world, and there's big fans in Australia. And what's been really lovely as well is they haven't just picked up our Downton Abbey brand, they've actually picked up our Harrogate Tipple brand of drinks as well. So it's been a real nice exercise, and it looks like we're probably going to go into Canada next and China. So they're the next 2 countries we're looking to export to.
That's fantastic, it really is. And the show Downton Abbey, it's obviously got such a iconic kind of look and feel, etc. So how much of their influence was in the whole flavor profile, etc., etc. Obviously you based it on a 1920s recipe. Were they involved in at any stages? Was it kind of road tested by any of them?
No, not really. I love the 1920s. I just love that period. I think I was in a past life in the 1920s for some reason. I've got a real love of it. And as I mentioned earlier, we needed something to evoke that period, and we looked at recipes around that time. What were people eating? What was in food menus, wasn't it? And obviously we came up with the ginger, the rose water, and the limes. And basically it was just sort of seeking what people had in those days. And to go back to your question about did any of the stars get involved, we were actually invited to the world premiere at Leicester Square in London, which was just amazing. So myself and Sally, my wife, went down there, and we brought bottles in hand. We had the whiskey, we had the gin, and we stood and gave some of the stars, Hugh Bonneville, some gin and whiskey, and Kate Phillips, who plays Princess Mary, and Jim Carter, who is Mr. Carson.
Yeah.
So they have their sign of approvals, which was good. Yeah.
And someone's asking, did you give a bottle to Maggie Smith? Is that true?
No, she went out the back there. She went out the back entrance, and I couldn't find her. She was too quick.
I can't imagine her being quick. She was very regal.
Yeah. Very.
That's fantastic. But I suppose there's so much you can play on with the, the food and drink is such a big aspect of Downton Abbey, isn't it? You see upstairs and downstairs the preparation of food, the cocktails which are going out at the parties and stuff. There's just so much depth there, isn't there, to kind of play around with.
And I remember reading a couple of years before I even came up with this idea, that sales went up exponentially in the US when Downton Abbey was on, of gin and tonics, because they drink gin and tonics in the show in abundance, and the men drink the whiskey. So we knew that it would resonate very well. It just fits. It really does with that whole Englishness,
Exactly. And Andrea, you're Italian.
Yeah.
Do you understand any of this English, crazy, stately home, upper class, lower class, servants and all of that kind of stuff? Or is it just... Yeah.
You listen to a Geordie every day.
Can you understand what?
Mother language. It's a complete mother language. I have to say that I had to search for Downton Abbey, but then I also realized that it's actually played in Italy as well. So I do love that era as well, 1920s. I love it as well. So it's kind of, and it's in. I would say it's what Harrogate Tipple as well is a little bit in a certain way. So it kind of match and it connects all the dots really. So it did make sense to do it, to be honest. And it's doing very well.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the synergy for it is great. I mean, I can understand why they chose Harrogate Tipple to entrust with their brand, which is amazing. And
up for 2 big awards, which is kind of like the Oscars of the license awards. It was actually, we were supposed to go out to Las Vegas, can you believe, in August, and we're up against Coca-Cola and Nestle, can you believe, which is just phenomenal, in our first ever licensing deal. So to get that as an acknowledgement is pretty amazing. So watch this space. We're up for newcomer and best product, so
that's incredible. Isn't it good?
I would just like to say that we still bottle every single bottle by hand, so it's this step between us and Coca-Cola.
yeah, exactly. I wouldn't like to see Coca-Cola being bottled by hand. Cracky. So if people want, I know we're in the middle of this awful COVID-19 nonsense, but once it's over and social distancing is a nasty memory, etc., can people come to visit you? And if so, have you got a shop there? Can they do tastings? I think you're in the kind of castle grounds, aren't you? Must be loads of other things to go and see around there as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ripley is such a beautiful and unique place. It's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, you're talking 5 minutes outside the town centre of Harrogate. It's like no other place in the whole of the UK. It's actually modelled on a French village back in 1840s when Sir Ingleby at the time went over there and came back and went, I want my village to look like this French village. He was that adamant, and he certainly has made it very unique. The Ingleby family themselves still live in the castle after 750 years, can you believe?
Wow.
And they're great, Sir Thomas is such a wonderful man, and Lady Emma, they're fantastic, And we are part of the Castle Estate, which is just tremendous. We've got a brilliant shop here that we opened last year, which was just thriving, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We get a lot of tourists come in here, coach loads of people come in here. It's probably the only village in the world that has a pub, a butcher's, a post office, and now a distillery, which is quite unique, and obviously the castle as well. So we're in a very, very envious position here at Ripley, and we're also going to open a gin school within the castle gate itself, in a beautiful room they've given us. That was supposed to open last month, obviously, with what's gone on. We've delayed that slightly. So that will be opening as soon as we get the go-ahead. We're going to start working it next week, actually. And then you can come and make a bottle of gin yourself. It's going to be unlike any other gin school in the world, because you're going to go out in the gardens themselves and actually pick and taste and smell the botanicals yourself. So it's going to be a marvelous experience, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's amazing. I must come up and try it out myself, because
Yeah.
done lots of kind of gin tastings and whatever over the years, but not actually gone and spent a whole afternoon selecting, fresh botanicals and doing that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, we want to point the difference, and we just have to do it where we are. As I say, it's so unique and so beautiful. We're by a lake, and
I mean, we have a botanical garden as well. So, and not every gin experience you do, you have the possibility to go there and collect your own botanical. It's something different.
And also, what's very unique to the estate and what we've got access to is a Victorian hothouse. So it's partly a massive long greenhouse. So we can grow tropical stuff there. We can grow our lime trees there. We can grow grapefruit, mango, passion fruit. So we've got a lot planned for the Victorian hothouse. Not many people can. Yeah.
That's incredible. The chat has gone crazy since we've been talking about the gin school. Someone's suggesting one big meetup with us all, which I think is a fantastic idea. Can people buy these? Can people buy these experiences now? So forget COVID. Could I buy this for my wife's birthday present or something like that? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. We can't really set a date yet. That's the only thing.
Yeah, sure.
Watch this space. Our new shiny website has just gone up today, actually, harrogatetipple.com. So just keep watching that. There'll be some newsletters going out. Social media is always up to date, done by the beautiful Saf, who's standing behind the camera at the minute. So yeah, we will encourage that. And as I say, once we know when we can open and have an actual live calendar in there, then we can set some dates and you can book. Yeah,
that sounds amazing. There are loads of people asking about it now, and yeah, if we can get open-ended vouchers or whatever, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
I'm not sure if we can fit the 57 people though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a couple of hundred of us dropping out. We'll have to give you some notice, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, now is the time when I'm going to announce the winner of the competition. And Steve, I want you, once we've got her on screen, to announce what the name or the word or the phrase was. So anyway, we've actually seen her already. We've already got her up when she was asking a question, but she was very quick of ear to pick up what the word was. So Fran in the know. There we are, back again. You've won. And Steve will tell you what the word was.
Yes, I certainly will. Well done. Good ears. It's Donny.
It's Donny the Otter, yes. I heard it the first time and thought, I'm going to listen out for that again.
Yeah, well done. Yes, so
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And he's named after my youngest son, actually. Who loves
amazing. Very, very cute mascot.
Yeah, he's great. He's become quite a big feature for us, actually. And there's actually otters in the lake here in the castle, so it's got a lot of relevance. And they only live in clean water, so there's a big nod to that. So yeah, he's become become a bit of a favourite now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, Fran, if you can just email me your details, we'll get you a bottle out.
Thank you very much.
Sometime next week. But yeah, thanks everybody for turning up and taking part. And what we always do at this point is to kind of relax things a little bit. And Steve and Andrea have been answering questions for quite a bit, but I'm sure they'll be hanging about for a little bit longer to answer some more. Amy's going to be there to answer your questions about cocktails. I'm going to be here having a drink, and we've still got a load of people online. So let's relax a little bit. I know that I think Charlie will maybe start selecting people who can want to ask any questions, and we will open the mics up a little bit when we've got a lot of people online, as we have at the moment. We've got to kind of control it slightly, but yeah, we will continue with some drinks and some sociability and some questions. So guys, thanks so much. Amy, thanks so much.